Hey beautiful people, it's Patrice here and I'm a work from home nurse. So today's video is about what the title says. I'm a nurse and I've never worked in a hospital. What? You've never worked in a hospital? No, never. Really? Never worked in a hospital. Tell me about that. Well, come join my YouTube viewers and I'll tell you all about it. So when you think of nurse, do you think about hospital? I know I do. Anytime I hear hospital, I think about doctors and of course, nurses. But truth be told, I've always been scared of hospitals and I still kind of am. So why did I become a nurse? Well, I have a very cliche answer. I wanted to help people. I hate seeing people sick and I like seeing them well. So I wanted to do something that makes people well or helps them to get well or helps them on their journey to getting well. I love getting to know people. I love getting to know their families and I love seeing the results of people when they're sick, when they get well. And I love seeing family members so happy and joyful when their sick family member is well and gets to go home. I'm not sure if I recommend not ever working in a hospital because honestly, I wished that I had. I worked with great nurses and great doctors, but not everyone will have that experience or have had that experience. And so I was so blessed and so lucky to have gotten to work with those wonderful doctors and wonderful nurses that I did work with. They trained me well and I turned out okay. So I know your next question is probably, well, where did you work? So I worked in clinics. I worked in wound care, in a wound care clinic, which was right beside the hospital, but it wasn't in the hospital. I worked in a GI clinic and I worked in a family practice office. So I never really hung an IV bag except for my GI nursing job, which is what I did before I moved to working from home. But something like hanging an IV bag should be simple, right? And that's something that happens in the hospital all the time. But without working in the hospital, you really don't get to hang IV bags that much. Like I said, there are some settings like GI and other nursing that you get to hang them, but the hospital, you hang them pretty regularly. So I learned how to hang IV bags just from watching others, especially in my GI nursing, just watching others, and YouTube was definitely a big help. But I wasn't confident, I had to watch others, just to get that confidence. Because when you're a nurse, you want to be confident. You don't want your patient to know that you don't know what you're doing, because then they're going to have anxiety and it's going to throw everything off, right? But if I had had that hospital experience, I would have been more confident in hanging IV bags and knowing things like meds and starting an IV. But having that hospital experience would have given me the confidence that I needed to hang IV bags and knowing things like meds and starting IVs. So my last job, I didn't know how to start IVs, and I knew some meds. I knew meds from when I worked in family practice because you deal with a lot of meds there. But I had a nurse give me a list of meds that I took home and I studied them. And then starting IVs was a whole different ball game. I had no idea what I was doing. I was blowing veins left and right, you guys, left and right. So working as a GI nurse, people are having colonoscopies and upper endoscopies, which means most of them are being put to sleep, which means you need to give the patient an IV. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was blowing veins left and right. So I had to watch the other nurses. I went on YouTube. YouTube was my friend. I studied how to insert IVs until I eventually perfected it, and people were starting to ask me to help them with IVs. So is never working in a hospital a bad thing? No. I turned out okay, right? But I would recommend maybe getting at least a couple of months experience. I think that a nurse would feel more confident if they did get that hospital experience. I eventually gained my confidence. Like I said, my GI nurse gave me a lot of confidence and wound care. But if I had had that hospital experience, I think I would have went into those jobs just more confident than what I did and didn't have to get as much training maybe on some of the things. It's okay if you have to get trained on a new skill. We all have to get trained on new skills, right? But I just recommend getting some kind of hospital experience just to get that environment, just get used to that environment, getting used to working with doctors in the hospital, different illnesses, different situations, emergency situations. Of course, I had emergency situations in the clinics that I worked in. GI, we had a lot of emergency situations, but I do recommend getting a little bit of hospital experience. So if you're a nurse or a healthcare worker that have never worked in a hospital, give me a comment below and let me know how it affected you, or did it affect you? Were you okay working in the nursing field, or whatever jobs that you had, were you okay? I would like to hear other nurses' experiences. Now that I'm working from home, it's so hard for me to be able to want to go work in a hospital now. It'll probably be hard for me to even get a job in a hospital because, like I said, I've never worked in a hospital. Now I work from home. But if I wanted to get like another clinic job, it would be so hard for me to go back because I work from home now. But I do love doing IVs. That's one of my favorite things that I do as a nurse, is doing IVs. Like, I love doing it. I love trying to, solve a puzzle of those, who come in and say, oh, you won't be able to stick me. My veins are so hard. And I love to prove that I can do it. So I always, in the back of my head thought about, maybe doing something part-time, joining an IV team at the hospital, or I don't know how that works, or, something on the weekends, but something that I think about a lot. So I may look into that. I'm not sure, but never worked in a hospital. Didn't make me a bad nurse. I believe I'm a great nurse. I have patients all the time tell me I'm a great nurse, and my supervisors and managers, and I worked with awesome doctors. So if you're one of those people who don't like hospitals and really hate it like I do, I mean, there are jobs out there that you can work as a nurse, and wonderful jobs. Like I said, I had wonderful jobs. There are wonderful jobs that you can have as a nurse without being in the hospital. I do think it's a great experience though, if you did just get at least a couple of months. But if you didn't, I think you'd be fine, because I'm fine. Thank you for listening to me. Hope you have a great day and be great for God. Bye.